taking a peek at the new infotainment system inside of the Nissan Rogue. Very similar to a degree to last year's model, with a big exception being that it's now based off of Android operating system instead, which means that it's Google based. So you've got Google Maps built in and a lot of other useful Google functionality. But I'm going to walk you through everything that you need to know. So you've got a series of different buttons along the left side of the screen. And these buttons are essentially fixed into place. So doing a button press and hold does nothing but jump you into all of the available options there. So you've got your home screen. Swiping across is going to give you a series of other options here. You can hit the little plus icon if you wanted to add in another widgetized area. So that's kind of cool because you've got the flexibility of being able to customize this to a degree. So you could arrange different things, you can add different things in. So deal on audio, user profiles, clock, different apps and things like that showing up. So it's widgetized to a degree. And then pressing back, exit without saving, but you can add in additional side widgets here if you'd like to, and you can essentially do as many as you'd like. I love how smooth the animations are now on this screen though, it's so good. You've got this little button along the very bottom for notifications. You can clear notifications. There's this button, which gets you into a series of different settings, which we'll touch on last. There's another button here, which is a quick launch, essentially. So you can adjust the screen brightness this way. You can toggle the display off that way. Button press to bring it to life. You can toggle the vehicle hotspot on or off. There's a day or nighttime mode, so you can do a button press there in order to adjust. And that's the same thing with the little button down here. So you can just do a button push in order to go to the day or the nighttime mode there instead. And then button push and hold turns the display off. Button push brings it back to life again. There's a hot button press here in order to be able to adjust things like your treble, mid-range, bass. Something like this, in my opinion, sounds pretty good inside of the Rogue. You can also adjust your balance and fade if you wanted to have it focused on the driver, people at the back, or recenter it back out to 0 instead. So it is kind of cool that there's this quick launch tray instead, and moving back. And you've got your current connection level, and then whether or not, well, I guess your clock. So whether or not that one's enabled, it would show up along the very bottom there, because you could technically hide that clock if you want to. But let's dive in. I'm going to show you kind of screen by screen here, everything that you need to know. So you've got your maps, which you can go this way, button press there to make it happen, and it's Google Maps. So one cool thing is that if you were logged into your Google account, any phone address that any address I should say that you've searched on your phone, whether that's Android or iPhone, would then show up if you've signed into your account. So if you've got an extensive address history, addresses that you've looked at through your phone, you can have it set up this way instead, which is kind of cool. You've got a series of different addresses that have been searched for. You could search by GPS coordinates, so it's latitude first, longitude second. You could start searching for point of interest icons like Tim Hortons, nice and Canadian of me. As you scroll across, it's going to take you to different options available. Let's actually go to 6 because it's a difference away, but you can see there are different routes available. So there are 2 separate routes. You can hit this button in order to go to some different route options. So if you wanted to avoid highways, toll roads, ferries, and things like that, you'd have that option. You could then switch between any of the routes that are available, push back, and then you can start or add a stop. So let's say if you wanted to, maybe go to a gas station first. You would fill up. We can search for gas stations, and it's going to show you different things that are available. Let's just choose number 3 because it's a little bit out of the way, and then add stop. So you've got that option, and then you've got this little hamburger icon there. You could then drag up and down. So if you wanted to stop at the Shell station first before going to Tim Hortons, you'd have the flexibility to do it. You can add in a destination as well, and then when you're ready, just hit done, and then you just hit
Head northeast
start.
Toward Henry Street, Durham Regional Road 45.
So, as you can see there, the route is now actively going. And one cool thing is that inside of the cluster screen, you've also got full mapping cluster, and you can have it set up to look slightly different depending on the view that you've taken. But I love that you've got full mapping cluster available. And then as you move across to different screens, it might be full mapping cluster or just like a little turn-by-turn direction instead. Now that strictly is, so the mapping cluster, strictly for Google Maps built into the screen. So if you're connected to iPhone or Android, that wouldn't show up there. And then you could hit this button in order to look at your different route options, search for other options, look at the route details, or you can exit out of the route, you can remove the next stop, or completely exit out of navigation. And then if you search, that's going to show you all of the addresses that you've gone to. Straightforward. You could hit this in order to mute out notifications, strictly get alerts. You can change up your overall route heading there as well. That's a neat little 3D view. And then one thing is that you'd also be able to go between this terrain or satellite view and the terrain view. So if you wanted the satellite versus a terrain view instead, you'd have the flexibility to be able to do it. It's actually really cool. I love that you can do that. Oh, so cool. But that's how you use factory navigation. It's pinch to zoom capabilities. You could drag yourself around if you want to, circle back in, recenter it back onto you. Love it. Back home. Next up brings us into media. It's the same thing. You can hit media this way or hit the media button like what we pushed. From there, you can tune to stations this way. You can tune this way. So if you wanted to tune to a station, you'd have the flexibility to be able to do it this way instead to tune. You could also hit the voice command prompt on the steering wheel in order to be able to tune to stations this way. 97.7 FM.
All right, here's 97.7 FM.
So using your voice to change stations instead, so much more useful. And then if you wanted to be able to save a preset, once you tune to the station, you can just button push and hold. And you can see there, it's overwritten. You could scan to see what stations are available. Push down here in order to get to all of the available stations for AM, FM, whatever the case may be. If you've gone to a new area, you can hit that little refresh button for it to look to see what stations are available. You could save stations out this way by hearting it. So any station with a heart next to it is a station that's been saved. So you could save unsaved stations this way. So if you've got your list of stations that you typically listen to, you can save them all out very simply this way, and it saves it under your favorites. And you can see all of the stations that have been saved as a favorite as well, which is kind of cool. Like it. Button press gets you to a few other options there along the top. So you've got your AM list, etc. You can change sources. So you've got AM, FM, SiriusXM, Bluetooth. If you had a USB stick with MP3s, that would be available. Strictly going to be USB-C though. If you had Amazon Alexa set up inside of the vehicle as well, that would also show up. Button press back up to get to this screen again, and you've got a boatload of different presets that are available. If we go back down for a second and change its sources out, let's go to SiriusXM for a sec, and you can see there all of your SiriusXM stations that are done a different way. So there we go. So we've got a song that's now playing. You can change songs this way, play, pause, restart, start over. Hit this little notification icon in order to get a notification for the artist or for the song. So if this song comes on or if this artist comes on any station, you'll get a notification letting you know, and then you could then tune to that station to listen if you'd like. Straightforward. You can hit related there. You can look at a category view for sports, news, talk, whatever the case may be. Look at your collection. So all of your previously favorited stations. You could edit it out there, exit out, and that's that. It's honestly relatively straightforward using the audio system inside of the vehicle. You can button press there to get back to your sources, button press in order to get back to the main screen. And then if we hop back home, you've got, I guess we're doing phones. So as of right now, no phone connected. You've got the iPhone that was previously connected here. So let's delete that one. There we go. And as of right now, so there are no phones connected. So let's start off on the iPhone side of things. So what you're going to do is just hit add device. On your phone, you're looking for my Rogue. And going to connect through. Perfect. Make sure the pins match up, and they do. Do you want to allow contacts and favorites to sync up? This is not my car, so I'm going to say no to that one. Obviously, if it was yours, you could say yes. Let's see. Use contact names. No, that's okay. I'm going to continue there. And we are fully connected. So if you wanted to, you could hit the phone icon, and that's going to take you to a few other options. So you've got your keypad messages. It's not going to download these because I said no for my call history and things like that. You can hit the little settings icon to look at your connections, favorites, and things like that. So we've got the phone that we've connected. You can hit info in order to turn hands-free calling or the audio on or off. You've also got Apple CarPlay, and it is wireless inside of most trims of the vehicle. It is also backwards compatible though. So if you wanted to use a USB cable, you could. You just have to make sure it's a USB cable with a data transfer icon. and it's strictly USB-C. So I've got this little adapter to go from USB-A to USB Type-C, but you could use it that way. But CarPlay, wireless, so let's go, use CarPlay. Do you want to use it? Yes. Look at that. Oh, I love it. Full CarPlay support. This is as full screen as it's going to get. So you'll always have this button tray along the outside and along the bottom. But I mean, that is nice. You've got your current battery level, connection levels, which map was open last, which audio application was open last, which miscellaneous application was open last. You can hit this little button to go to an icon view, or this view instead. You can swipe across easily this way as well. What's going on here is going to be slightly dynamic. So this is going to be whatever map application was open last. You'll have search if you've got an active song playing. And then if you have an appointment for today that's coming up that hasn't passed, that would show up. If you don't have an active calendar notification, that would go away. And these two would be stretched out to fill the box instead. But you've got Apple Maps, Google Maps, and Waze. No pinch to zoom capabilities on either, unfortunately. Google Maps is good. You could search for addresses. You've got Google Maps obviously built into the vehicle. So that's going to be a matter of preference if you use it this way. But my favorite map application is Waze. So a few different reasons. You can see speeds on individual roads as you go. If there are accidents, you can see slowdowns and things like that there. You can see that there are police that are kind of hanging out. So people can notify you and let you know of upcoming issues and things like that. And you can also let people know of traffic, police, crashes, hazards, bad weather, and things like that as well. So very useful. Waze is hands down my go-to map application in any vehicle that I drive. You've got YouTube Music. So that's one thing, is that you've got a series of different music apps like library. There's podcasts that are available as well. So you can listen to these, but there's no video playback. So you could use VLC here strictly for audio, not for video. But straightforward. And then on the phone, if you go into General, CarPlay, find your vehicle, so my Rogue, you can forget it, customize, and then turn CarPlay off. If you're running into CarPlay connectivity issues though, check down in the description of this video for a walkthrough and some ideas on how you could potentially fix CarPlay if it's not working for you. But what we want to do, customize. And now you've got the flexibility to customize the screen. So if you want your podcast to be at the top, and if you want your map application to be up there as well, you've got that flexibility. Anything with a minus next to it, you can remove it from the screen if you want to. So you can minus all of these ones out. If you want to, you can also add them back in. So they're there along the very bottom. So you just hit the plus icon. But if you've played around with the layout too much and you don't like what you've done, on your phone, there's the reset button, reset, and that's just going to bring you back to this factory default layout instead. When you're connected to your iPhone, either over Bluetooth or through CarPlay, you can do a short button press on the steering wheel in order to be able to activate your Google Assistant. So that's going to be the assistant that's built into the screen itself. But what you could also do on the steering wheel is if you do a longer button push and hold, that's going to activate your Siri Assistant instead. So rather than it being the assistant for the vehicle, it's going to be your Siri Assistant. So you've got that available as an option. You could hit the home screen there to get back to the Rogue home screen. Button push, the little CarPlay icon to get back inside. Hit the Nissan button, same thing, to get back to that home screen instead. If you click on your phone, that launches you back into CarPlay. So there's a lot of ways that you can kind of get in and out of CarPlay and things like that. But that's how you connect an Apple device inside of the Nissan Rogue. Setting up an Android device is the exact same process. So we've already got the iPhone that's currently connected. So what we want to do is go into our active connections, and that's going to give you a few options. So as of right now, we've got the iPhone that's connected, but I want to add in a new device. So it's going to disconnect CarPlay. So yes, that's okay. And I want to add in a new device. So on your phone, you're going to look for Rogue. That's showing up. Perfect. PIN numbers match up. So we're going to pair. Here we go. Do I want to allow access to my messages and contacts? Again, this is not my car, so I'm saying no to that one. And you've also got Android Auto. So you're going to start Android Auto. Look at that. Wireless Android Auto. Same idea. Backwards compatibility. So you could use a USB cable if you want to, again, with that data transfer icon, but you are fully connected. I'm actually kind of surprised because typically in Nissan vehicles, Android Auto is always wired. So now that it's wireless, I actually think that's kind of cool. You've got your options along the bottom there. So you've got your icon view back to this little home screen view. You can hit the button there in order to be able to activate your Google Assistant. And you've got a ton of options. So your maps, different things, your connection battery level. You can also go full screen map by pushing this way instead. And it's full pinch to zoom capabilities on the Android Auto side of things. That's one thing that I really like about Android Auto is that it's full pinch to zoom capabilities using your fingers there. You could hit the little gear icon in order to avoid different things on your route. So motorways, toll roads, ferries, things like that. So again, you've got Google Maps built into the screen, so factory navigation. You could also run off of your phone this way. And then you've got things like Waze. But if you've got Waze installed on your Android and it's not showing up, check down in the description of this video for a walkthrough on how to actually add it in. Straightforward though. On your phone, if you search for Android Auto, you're going to go to your Android Auto settings. And when you do that, that's going to give you a boatload of different options. What we want to do, you can customize the launcher. So very similar to what you did on the iPhone side of things. So you could button push in order to move around and create that perfect setup for you. So you're just kind of dragging and dropping the little hamburger icon there in order to move it around, but it's not dynamic the same way it was on the iPhone side of things. So in order for these changes to come into effect, what you need to do is you're going to go back home, swipe across, you're going to go to your connections, you've got your Galaxy that's been connected, so you're going to go info there, disconnect from Android Auto, we're now reconnecting to Android Auto. So you can see there, the changes that we've made have now come into effect. So it's not dynamic the same way it was on the iPhone side of things, but it's easy enough to do at the same time. Hopping back home, swipe across, back into our connections. You've got the devices that we've connected, so you can hit the little info icon there if you wanted to activate or deactivate Android Auto. So then you're connected for hands-free calling. And then another cool thing is that if you hit info here, you could then connect to Bluetooth audio. So what we've done is we've got the Android connected for phone calls, and we've got the iPhone connected for Bluetooth audio. So you can kind of do a mix and match there. So it's either Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, not both, but you can have it kind of a mixed match of hands-free calling versus Bluetooth audio. And then if you wanted to delete phones from the vehicle, just delete and yes. And same idea, let's just delete this one as well. So delete and yes. And 3, 2, 1. And that's how you set up phones inside of the Nissan Rogue. Hopping back home, you've got your devices, you can switch users, and this is a useful one. So one of the big benefits there, yes, a little notification letting us know that Artisan's song are on, but what you could do is hit the little settings icon and you'd be able to do a ton of things. So you could link your key fob to your driver profile, you could change out your icon and things like that. Setting up profile lets you do a number of things. So you could choose which language you want to use and things like that. One of the big benefits of setting up a unique profile is that it can remember everything. So it can remember your apps, it can remember all of your presets, your previously looked for destinations, if you've logged into your Google account and things like that. Security, you can even lock it out. So this is really good from a general safety perspective, because if multiple people are driving the vehicle, you can have it remember your own unique profile with active security as well. Kind of useful. You can have multiple user profiles inside of the vehicle as well. You've got a series of different apps that you've used. So you've got your Apple CarPlay, System Info, Android Auto. You can see your GPS coordinates. So if you wanted to, while using the app, figure out exactly where you're located, you've got the flexibility to be able to do it. So if you're calling for roadside assistance, get stuck, whatever the case may be, you've got the PlayStore as well. So you could sign in order to be able to download different apps. So all you're going to do on the Play Store in order to make it happen, so it's going to say getting ready to sign in, you just have to scan the QR code on your phone, and then it's going to take a second. And after you sign in, yes, I'm signing into a car. There we go, look at that. So I'm signed in here, you can just hit done, and look at this. You can download a ton of different apps to the vehicle now. So, I mean, I love using Waze. So again, I've got Waze installed on my phone, but what I'm doing is I'm now downloading it directly to the vehicle. So you could run off of Google Maps or you could run off of Waze instead. But like I said, there are a ton of different apps that are available. Explore all apps that you can download. So useful. So if there are different apps like Live Ones or Radio app, you could download directly to the vehicle and so many other things. So if you've got certain apps that you want to download, you've got the flexibility to be able to do it. It's straightforward doing it. Hopping back home, swiping across, gets us back into a few things. So button press there. There we go, for your Google Assistant. So we can now launch into Waze instead. So now you're using different apps on the device instead of running through Google Maps. So again, that one's going to be a matter of personal preference. There are Nissan Connect services, Amazon Alexa. You've obviously got to be logged in order to be able to use it. You can button press there to get to your phone, button press there to activate your assistant, or go this way to see a series of other options. So you've got system information with nothing exciting. So your version, license number, Android Auto, your GPS coordinates, a few other things. Amazon Alexa, your profiles, system information, all different settings that are available as well. So you've got your connection options, which we've already seen, a series of general settings, so sounds and beeps. So there's no beeps or sounds that we're getting right now, but you can adjust these things out. So if you wanted to adjust your treble, mid-range, bass, things like that, volumes and beeps, what volume level do you want to be at for your media, for guidance and things like that. So if you wanted your audio to be louder, you could hear it adjusting that way. You could adjust it this way. You could change out your map guidance volume for your ringers and then a beep. So do you want to get a physical beep inside of the vehicle? Yay or nay? From there, clock. Do you want to have automatic time zone? One of the benefits of deselecting that is if you're straddling a time zone and you find that it's constantly flipping you from one time zone to the other, you could then manually select your time zone instead. Or automatic if you don't have an issue there. You could also use the 24-hour mode, so if you prefer that military time instead. And then date format, how do you want your date set up? System info, languages, do you want to be in? There's so many. That's one of the benefits of it being Google instead. So these are region specific. So you've got English, French, or Spanish. Obviously, if you were in a different part of the world, those would show up slightly differently. There are information about system updates, so you could update the software if it's available. Basic about information to see which Android Auto version you're using. Legal info, nothing exciting. Reset, if you're selling your vehicle, you could reset all data, so do a full factory reset. And Android Auto, nothing exciting there. Storage info, you can see how much storage is currently being used. So there's up to 64 gigs of downloaded file space available. So if you're downloading apps, music, and things like that. Units is another useful one. So you'd have the option of adjusting this out. So if you wanted to be in either miles or kilometers, and that's going to change up the display inside of the cluster screen. So if you're going cross-border, you can adjust it this way. You can also adjust it inside of the steering wheel settings as well. From there, you can also adjust the climate. So along the very bottom, you can go between either Celsius or Fahrenheit, and that's going to change it out as well. And back. Location, you can see where, nothing exciting there, so use your active location. It's the basics there. Options for the display. So we've seen this one. Do you want to have the display turned off, yay or nay? Do you want to be in the day or night mode, which you can also adjust using the button down here. You can adjust the brightness, vehicle info, camera, where you can adjust the display settings for your camera. So do you want to adjust the brightness, contrast, black levels, and things like that? One cool thing about the camera is that you do have the option for, here we go, a full 360 camera. So you can kind of see 360 camera spaced out differently. So your side cameras, you can see what's going on there. You can do a backup view and things like that as well. So I just love that you've got that full 360 camera. You can go this cool little 3D view instead. Love it. So as you go to back up, you can really see what's around you as you go. And then you can zoom in to different elements of the car. So if you're getting in and out of tight spaces, you'd have the flexibility to be able to do this. So cool. Oh, I love that. Oh, that's just one thing. I love that that manufacturers are really kind of taking that one on. Go back into settings for a second. Vehicle, we've already seen camera. Users, that's where we're going in order to adjust our user profiles. Customize the menus a little bit, so your home menu, apps menu, and things like that. So you could easily customize this. All you're going to do is just kind of drag and drop in order to be able to adjust it out. And that's on any of these screens. So you can kind of pull, drop it into any space, add it, save it, whatever the case may be. You could adjust your audio sources as well. So on the audio screen, what option or what layout do you want them to be in? Let's see. Apps and notifications, nothing exciting there outside of the voice assistant. So do you want to use the Google Assistant or Alexa? You obviously have to be logged into your Alexa account in order to be able to use it. Nissan Connect services are available. There's some privacy information. There is an ads manager here. I haven't seen any ads here. A little concerning that that's available, but like I said, as of right now, I haven't seen any cross-platform ads, but that is something to think about. You could also choose a lock type. So if you wanted to lock the screen out, you could do pattern, pin, or password. So very useful if you wanted to, like I said, lock the screen out so people can't just be looking through all of your settings. Some basic Google information, nothing exciting. There's accessibility info. So if you wanted closed captions, you've got that flexibility. So listening to audio, whatever the case may be, you could adjust the caption size. And I think that is just about everything. Yeah. So we've got the active route that's still going there. So let's exit out of that and back home. So I love that you've got all of these different settings that are available now inside of the screen. Having this quick launch tray is really cool. Only other thing I think I really need to point out are going to be the buttons along the screen here. So I already mentioned this one, so you could toggle between a day or a nighttime mode. You could also change between songs or stations. There's a volume rocker. You could turn the audio off, so you're essentially muting out instead. You've also got a camera button in order to jump into that 360 camera view instead. And then down the center, you've got all of your different climate control settings, your start-stop button, and things like that. So I know that is a lot of information, but that's all you need to know about the new infotainment system inside of the Nissan Rogue.